Man, does it feel good to be hopeful and optimistic about the fate of Superman. It's crazy to think there hasn't been a good Superman movie since the 1980s. I've been on this little hype train for a while for this movie to be great, to be a beautiful opening for a character that's been kind of left with a bad taste in the public for a bit. A movie that will embrace the fun and light-hearted side of the character that needs to be seen and learned, especially in these types of times. And in my personal opinion, it does exactly that. It's not without its fault, but man, this is a movie that we've been needing for a long time. I think it has the perfect balance of seriousness and camp that a movie that is based on a comic book needs, and it actually feels very natural. We've gotten to the point in our modern culture where we're used to seeing grown men in tights fighting other men in tights. So to just fully embrace and say, you know who this is, we don't need to say it out loud. And I think it really works for a movie like this. It puts you into the comic book world and says, you'll get used to it. There's some amazing charm and quirks with this movie that really sticks with me, and I don't think that's no thanks to the styling of James Gunn. I like this man's work, but I was kind of worried he was kind of getting himself to a formula when working on a superhero flick. A group of mischief with quirky quirks who bicker and fight among each other, but at the end of the day come together to work as a team and a family. While it worked for the Guardians trilogy and Suicide Squad, I was kind of worried he was stretching himself thin with both Peacemaker and Creature Commanders, because they weren't exactly favorite projects of mine. But man, I was so glad I was proven wrong, because he clearly put a lot of care and effort into this movie. I think the characters have their charm worked in with Superman's optimism and all too Boy Scout attitude. Why did I say it like that? Always looking out for the people and even small creatures like squirrels. I love the little charms and quirks that David Corenswet added to the character, and it's still clear that this is a man who was raised in a little old farm in Kansas. I think the scene that got to me was when Superman says, "What the hey dude?" That's when I knew this Superman was going to be something special. It's also clear that he sometimes suffered with his own high, where he writes and interviews how great he is and how he could easily solve conflicts and save lives without any authority, which is a fun quirk for Superman who always thinks about saving others and doesn't want anyone to die, even if anyone tells him, hey, you probably shouldn't do that. And I think using Lois as a person to question his point and to show him that there are consequences in the real world was a really good choice. They capture Lois as I always imagined Lois being. She's clearly a smart reporter that always knows how to get the scoops, how to get the ideas, how to investigate, and doesn't look at the world as, hey, good versus evil. Lois will bring up the consequences that will come from Superman's actions, which again is a banter that is explored in this movie, giving the whole relationship with Clark like an issue that can be theoretically discussed. It's shown that she does care and love the guy, but he clearly doesn't have the full mental image of, hey, maybe you shouldn't use your powers to just do whatever the hell you want. But man, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor was really amazing. This man is such a hater, it brings tears of joy to my eyes. The amount of work and manipulation this man does just to kill one guy is fucking hysterical. He caused a conflict in the Middle East just so he could feel like a king, eventually get the land, of course. He also created a micro-universe just to hide his ex-girlfriends and program monkeys to hate tweet Superman, which is so petty, it's so fucking comical, it's amazing. He also nearly destroys the fucking planet just to kill one guy, one single guy. I really need to up my game for hating if this guy is still in the ring. S tier villain right here, folks. But coming back to the whole micro-universal thing, I love how they treat such fantastical ideas that come straight from a comic book and play it straight and don't question anything about it. They just stick us in this world and they're like, yeah, there's superhumans, gods, vigilantes, and aliens roaming around the earth, and there's no questions about it. The way they structured around the world, it doesn't feel strange or out of place for crypto to be in this movie. And I think it really embraces just being, hey, we're a comic book movie. I think the fantastical elements really brings a lot for the action scenes where they can have fun and a lot of creativity with the power usage. And also the camera work is pretty good for the fights and the flights. I especially love the fight scenes in the final act, even when it could come off a little flash looking, but I was actually enjoying myself as opposed to wanting to turn off the projector when watching it. Some of the CGI can look a little iffy, but I think there's so much beauty and amazing shots to counter it. It just works. It kind of hides it, but at the same time, treat the animators better, please. There isn't much I can really critique about the movie. Most of my critique was from the first watch, and while there is still some, I didn't really mind as much, or it didn't really bother me to begin with. I see some people have opinions of Superman stopping a war off screen before the movie begins and explaining it with just text in the beginning. And while it would be cool to see Superman take down a general and stop a war, I didn't mind his approach of the story because it didn't really need to show it. I see it's best left just for an interpretation, and I think it would have killed the pacing a little bit more. On my first watching, I did think the pacing of the first act was just a bit slow, and some things felt like it was just added because, hey, we have an extra few minutes in our hands. But on a second watch through, I didn't mind it at all, which can be biased because I know what's coming up and spoiling myself for the good parts. But I don't think it was that much of a big issue for me, and I don't think it's going to be that much of a big issue for many others watching this. I think I really enjoyed this movie a lot. It seems like something that stick around for a while and be remembered. It just has the sauce, like, damn, James Gunn, the man is cooking. I'm just saying, like, and the appetizers were alright, but look at the fucking entrees, Jesus. I think I just feel joy and happiness to see Superman finally in a positive spotlight for once. I really hope this movie brings a lot of joy and wonders to kids and make it their favorite hero. And I think that's what brings a lot of joy to me. 8 out of 10. Another movie came out around the same time, and it feels like another redemption for a series of characters that really needed it. Because as opposed to other heroes, they really never had a good reputation when it came to film adaptations. I can't really say much about the 90s one, and I don't really have any nostalgic lenses from watching the Tim Story ones. But the 2015 one is proof that God isn't real. So it's clear to me that we kind of needed a change. And yeah, this one was pretty good. It's a standard affair for a Marvel movie at this point, but there is a sprinkle of love and affection that had me hooked right away compared to the recents in their catalog. Like, I love the aesthetic they were going for in this movie with the futuristic 60s look to it. It reminds me of like the Jetsons with like current technology at the time just being expanded and being more powerful whatsoever. Plus, the beginning presentation was just a hook that wasn't a basic origin story that took up the entirety of the first act. It gives you the rundowns, gives you the basics of the characters, and then goes on from there. And I don't know if this is controversial or not, but the first 40 minutes of the movie felt so perfect. The acting was spot on. They had really good chemistry. There was a good aesthetic. There was good writing. There was a good story that was being built up. It had a perfect pacing and knew when to get to the story right away. The effects and camera work was actually pretty good, and it actually felt like it was made with love. But then it passes along and it kind of stops from there. Once we get past the black hole scene, which was a pretty good scene, both character-wise and visual-wise, it kind of stumbles a bit for me. I don't know what happened. They were presenting it well, and then it just sort of kind of loses its vision and kind of becomes generic at the end. By generic, I mean the movie feels like it loses its identity, and it doesn't feel like it was delivering something they had a vision for. They had a setting that was set up, but it feels like a generic third act from another MCU movie. I think the problem I had with it is because there were still good elements that were included with the third act. I think the actors are clearly having fun with this role, and it still knows how to give good connections among each other. I think Johnny was actually pretty good in this movie. He had a really good role, and he actually did something where it felt perfect for his character to go through. He has the standard Johnny affair of being a hotshot and good with the ladies and all that, but it doesn't stop from there. It also proves that, hey, he's also intelligent on his own right, and he actually has a passion for something sciencey. I think that's the perfect balance for a Fantastic Four, where they all have different powers and identities to one another, but at the end of the day, they're still the same family that loves science and exploring. I also think Galactus looks pretty cool. He had a sort of vision I see when imagining Galactus being real. And I'll say this, I really like the darkish, grayish looking variant of him. It actually works pretty well. Like, as opposed to the New York City being this bright, colorful, vibrant setting, this man is just a giant fucking gray guy coming down to eat the entirety of the planet. I think it has like a good understanding of like, hey, this is just a dark entity. This is a scary dude, and it would be kind of funny just to see this guy in like bright purple and dark blue. I can also say that for Silver Surfer, I like her design. It's basic, it's simple, and it plays to her role really well. But I have to give it to the story version. I think those movies really have the best Silver Surfer. I think the use of Doug Jones's physical performance and using Lawrence Fishburne's voice really blends well together and creates the ideal Silver Surfer. While this one is pretty good, I mean, we got this one before and it's kind of hard to top. He was just in a bad movie. And all I can say is this one is a fun movie, and I think it had the potential to be one of the greats, but it kind of stumbles, but I still really enjoyed it. I do care about these groups of actors actually coming together once again to work and make another movie, and also see them in the future. Hey, it's gonna be cool. I think it was a good enjoyment to see like how this universe is working, because it's gonna be kind of hard next year with all the mess that Marvel's going through, so that is gonna be one heck of a fucking year. But hey, Spider-Man's better be good. That's about it. This movie's getting a 7 out of 10. There's no 4 pun or anything. I'm 7 out of 10. Moral of the story, leave.